What is up, YouTube? This is Hypergon, your Chef Cat, back again for another video. And this time we're going to be starting off a new segment I decided to come up with called Archetype Spotlight. Now, what we're doing in this is that whenever I decide to do this segment, I'll be talking about a new upcoming archetype that does not yet exist in the TCG or is OCG exclusive that maybe you guys haven't heard of yet. And I'm going to discuss its lore, playstyle, cards, anything I can think of to get you guys in the zone for this new archetype. Now, like I said, I'm only going to be doing things that haven't been released in the TCG yet or are exclusive to the OCG. Just because if it's out, odds are people have already talked about it, you've already heard all about it, so there's no point in me going over it. So, with that being said, let's go on to this week's topic of discussion, the Super Quantum archetype. And here they are, the Super Quantums themselves. Now, the way that these guys work is that they are an Xyz-based deck based on the idea of the Super Sentai or Power Rangers series. So you have all different manner of them. You have your red guy, your green guy, your blue guy, your alpha. We'll get to them all later, though. What makes these guys so interesting, other than the fact that they are based on one of my personal favorite shows from my childhood, is that they are an Xyz-based deck with all different levels. You have red layer here is level 5, green layer level 4, blue layer is level 3, and alpha is level 1. And even though their Xyz monsters have different levels, you have level rank 5, rank 4, rank 3, and rank 12. They're just all over the place, so it makes you wonder, how is this in any way a consistent deck? Well, again, we'll get to that a little bit later, but to me what's interesting is that each of them works with their own respective positions for what they would be in their show. You have each of the Rangers, and then their level matches the rank of their respective Zords, so they can only go into that one. And then each of them, the Zords, combine into one big Megazord, which to me is just kind of cool. And when I first heard about this, I was wondering, how on earth are they going to make this work? It doesn't sound like it's a feasible deck in any way, with Xyz of all different levels and monsters with no real consistency to it. But that brings us on to the main point now, which is, how do these guys work? Well, truth be told, they work through their field spell, which actually is pretty interesting. You discard a card to target a Super Quantum Mecha Pilot, which are the main deck monsters, and then special summon a Super Quantum Mecha Beast, the Xyz monsters, onto it with him being the Xyz material. So they pretty much only get one, but it's like it's almost like they're just calling out their own effective Zords and they're the only ones in it. Just like in the show, which I found to be actually a really interesting idea. And the question becomes, well, okay, how do you get the rank 12 guy out? I don't see any 12s over here. And the answer is simple. You can send this card from the field spell to the graveyard, target 3 Super Quantum Mecha Beast Xyz monsters with different names in your graveyard and or that you control, and then overlay them and their materials in order to get out your Megazord. Which, to me, is actually a really cool idea. I like how they did that. It all came together in a way that actually kind of makes sense for how you do it. So you need to have all 3 of your standard Zords out before you can actually get the Megazord. Which, again, it's a really cool idea. It's more just me geeking out than anything. But at this point, I'm sure you guys are tired of me geeking out on this, just talking about the Power Ranger stuff. You want to know what these guys do. So let's get to it. First off, we have the leader, Super Quantum Pilot Layer Red, or Red Layer. He's a level 5 monster, fire attribute, warrior type, 2000 attack, 800 defense with the following effects. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can only use each of the following effects of Super Quantum Mecha Pilot Red Layer once per turn. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one Super Quantum card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. It doesn't matter which one. It could be one of the main deck monsters, one of the Xyz monsters, one of their spell trap cards. Recycle it back to your hand. Then, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Super Quantum monster in your graveyard, except Super Quantum Mecha Pilot Red Layer, and special summon it, but its effects cannot be activated. So you can get any of the other pilots, you can get some of the Zords, you can get a Megazord if you want to. Just any monster, but it will not have its effects. Next up, we have Layer Green, and this is where it starts to get a little bit weird. You start to notice a bizarre trend here. He's a level 4 Wind Attribute Spellcaster monster with 1600 attack and 1400 defense. So, not only do they have inconsistent levels, they also have inconsistent attributes and types. They have basically nothing in common other than their name, which is why this comes in extremely handy. But we'll get to that later. So what Green Layer does is that when this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Super Quantum monster from your hand. Now that to me is a really cool effect. He was the last one announced and I wasn't entirely sure what he was going to do, but I have to admit, a special summon is pretty dang nice. I'm quite okay with that. Next, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can discard one Super Quantum card to draw a card. You can only use each effect once per turn. So he's a special summon card and a draw power card, which to me is actually pretty cool. I like that. It feels like he has a lot of potential, especially when you realize he is a level 4, not level 4, I'm sorry, a Wind Attribute Spellcaster monster. Where does that sound familiar? Here, let me just go ahead and type this in here. Yeah, Wind Attribute Spellcasters. That means that these things, which require you to tribute a Wind Spellcaster, work for him. You can use Magispector spell traps with this guy. And, since he is still being sent to the graveyard by that effect, even if it is a tribute, you can still activate his draw power card, which it would be a little unconventional, but to me it's an interesting idea for something to potentially do with him. This deck has a lot of really weird options, but to me that was just something I kind of noticed and found kind of interesting. Next up we have Super Quantum Mecha Pilot Blue Layer, who is a level 3 water attribute psychic monster. So for anyone with emergency teleports, you are in luck. Now, what this card does is that when it is normal or special summoned, you can add a Super Quantum card from your deck to your hand, except Super Quantum Mecha Pilot Blue Layer. So, she is our search power, this is our special summon and draw power, and this is our recycling power, as well as emergency special summon. For me, that's just really, really good. These guys each have their own effects that kind of work in tandem with each other, and it just works out really, really nicely. Our other effect is that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 Super Quantum cards in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. You only use each effect once per turn. So she also kind of has sort of a recycling effect, but not quite to the same extent as Red Layer. But if you have 3 cards that you just need back in the deck, and Blue Layer goes, then you can do that. Plus, it's up to 3, so you can just send 1 if that's really the only thing that you need. Now, next up we have Super Quantum Fairy Alphen, or who I'm affectionately referring to as Alpha. It is a level 1 light attribute fairy monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. As you know, any level 1 monster with no attack and no defense typically has a really broken effect. Alphen is no different. Once per turn, you can target 1 Super Quantum monster you control, and then all face-up monsters you currently control become that target's current level. So if you have like 3 things out, including Alphen, and you activate its effect, all of them will become that level. That's not quite as relevant as you think it is, but at the same time, if you can just get one other one out, and then Alphen, then you can go into an Xyz play without the field spell, which is pretty cool. Next up, you can tribute this card to reveal 3 Super Quantum monsters with different names from your deck. Then have your opponent randomly select 1, then special summon that one to the side of your field, and then send the remainders to the graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. So it's kind of like a painful choice or something like that. Basically, you just pick. Ideally, you just want like one of each of these guys, since it does have to be with different names. So just one of each of these guys. You could throw Alphen in there too, and just say Super Quantum. And then your opponent will randomly pick one, hopefully the one that you need, and then you get to do your Xyz stuff. Next up we have the field spell, Super Quantum Mecha Ship Magna Carrier. Basically, I already told you how this one works, so I'm just going to go ahead and move on to their trap, Super Quantum Mecha Sword Magna Slayer. Now, this for me is probably one of my favorite cards in the entire deck. You can target one Super Quantum Xyz card, Xyz monster, I'm sorry. Equip it, it gains 100 attack for each of its ranks, and if it attacks a defense monster, it does piercing. During your battle phase, you can send this equipped card to the graveyard, and then the monster this card was equipped to can make 3 attacks during this battle phase. What? That's insane! Who thought that was a good idea? Whoever did, thank you! And I'm honestly speechless about how good that is. Anywho, moving on, we now have the Xyz monsters. Starting off again with red, we have Super Quantum Mecha Beast Magna Liger. Requires 2 level 5s, or your red layer and the field spell. Most of them share a similar effect, in that none of them can attack while they have no Xyz material. And they can each also, once per turn, attach one Super Quantum Mecha Pilot monster from your hand or side of the field to this card as face-up Xyz material. All of them can do that. All 3 are capable of just doing that. Now, their individual effects are, they're all machines also. That's prudent to mention, so limited removal is a thing. They also share their respective layers, attributes, and rank. Magna Liger is 2600 attack, 2k defense. His personal effect is that you can detach an Xyz material from this card to target one monster on the field and destroy it. If this card has Super Quantum Mecha Pilot Red Layer, God, that's a mouthful, as Xyz material, this effect can be activated during either player's turn. So basically, he just gets to be a pauper, and he can do it during either turn if he has this respective ranger underneath him. Next up, we have Super Quantum Mecha Beast Ouroboros, which is, still rank 4 machine, wind attribute, 2200 attack, 2400 defense, so technically better defensively, but you could argue either. Again, he has the cannot attack while it has no Xyz material, and you can attach a Super Quantum Mecha Pilot from your hand or field to his Xyz material once per turn. His thing is that you can detach an Xyz material from this card to target one other face-up card, or one other face-up monster on the field, and change its defense position. I'm all over the place. And then if he has green layer as Xyz material, it can be used during either player's turn. So he's either a Book of Moon for your turn, or just a Book of Moon in general, depending on what's underneath him. Next up, we have the Water one, Super Quantum Mecha Beast Magna Pulse. As I already said, Water attribute, rank 3 machine, 1800 defense, 2800 defense, similar to Blue Layer, a pretty hefty wall to get over. Requires 2 level 3s, or again, just a field spell. Again, cannot attack, you can attach, and its thing is you can detach an Xyz material to target a spell trap card on the field and destroy it. And again, if it has Blue Layer, it can be done during either player's turn. So what we have is a Monster Destroyer, a Spell Trap Destroyer, and a Book of Moon. And if they have their respective layers underneath them, then they become more versatile. It's a pretty interesting little gimmick, and honestly, I kind of like it. Especially when you see how the Megazord works. We've already discussed how you get him out. You just need each of these 3 guys, and then to send this from the field spell to the graveyard, and boom. You have Super Quantum Mecha Lord Great Magnus. This card is a light attribute rank 12 machine monster with 3600 attack and 3200 defense. And this card is busted as hell. So he gains effects based on the number of Xyz materials with different names attached to it, which, trust me, is stupid easy to do. So, starting things off, if you have 2 or more, once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card to shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck. Next, if he has 4 or more, and this is where it gets stupid, he is unaffected by card effects except Super Quantum cards. So you cannot Dark Hole, Raigeki, Fiendish Chain. You can't do anything to him. You can't even Gradle him. He doesn't care about Gradles. You know how amazing that is? And, while we're on the topic of a Gradle matchup, if you were to attack a face-down Gradle with this attached to him, he would be 48 with Piercing, and then would be unaffected by the Gradle monster's ability to snatch him. That's pretty amazing as far as I'm concerned. Now, finally, if he has 5 or more, your opponent cannot add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them. So, let's review, shall we? He can, at his best, prevent your opponent from searching, is unaffected by non-Super Quantum cards, and can once per turn shuffle a monster back, a card back into the deck. That's amazing, and at base 36 with the ability to become 48, if you do get the sword on him, that's incredible. It's equally as amazing when you realize that if you do get him down to less than 4, you can limiter removal him, so he can be potentially almost 10k. This monster is just a nightmare, and I love him to death. But wait, there's more. If this card is sent to the graveyard for any reason, assuming you can kill this thing, you can special summon 3 Super Quantum Mecha Beast Xyz monsters with different names from your graveyard. So, should anything happen to Great Magnus, you can have these 3 back as they are, with the ability to still reattach materials onto them from your hand or field. That is amazing. This is why I love this deck so much. It has so much potential. It's just has so many utility tools. It's just so hard to kill, and I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. I can already tell I'm going to abuse the ever-living hell out of this deck. It has so much amazing potential, so many unique options for it. It's going to be a fun deck, I can tell. Will it be competitive? Only time will tell. I haven't really play-tested it that much, though I have some friends who have, and apparently it's performing admirably, so who knows? This may be the face of the new meta. This is coming out in Wing Raiders, along with the new Raid Raptor support and the introduction of the, God, what do you call them? The ghostly warrior things that Yuto used. Their name is escaping me right now, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what these guys do, that's what they are. This is the face of the Power Ranger deck. And while Yu-Gi-Oh! Does seem to be kind of taking more of a turn towards using actual, like, real-life reference materials for things like the Godzilla archetype, Star Wars archetype, now the Power Ranger archetype, they've done them all pretty well, so I have no real complaints about the obvious lack of originality. But again, whatever. They're so cool, I don't even care. I'm hyped for these guys. I'm going to be making these cards. So that's the Super Quantums in a nutshell. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are these guys a cool archetype? Will they be the face of the new meta? Again, let me know down in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to also like my Facebook page so you can let me know your opinions there and keep up to date with any updates I may have. Like this video and subscribe to my channel for further content. Until next time, peace.